Woohoo! We are live, and this is Math 40. This is 1.4, and I'm straightening out all of this. Whoop, there's the ring light. And we are going to be adding real numbers. Woohoo! I know it's very exciting. Adding is so thrilling, and I know you're all thrilled to be here. But what I would like to do is I would like to go back and reframe addition as something that is slightly more sophisticated than what you probably learned the first time, where I draw a picture of 2 cats and then a picture of 3 cats, and then I say how many cats are there. This time we're actually going to use a number line to talk about what addition means. So first off, I'm hoping that if you see this, if I say what is 2 plus 3, you're all going to say 5. Yes, yay. But let me show you a slightly different way to look at it, a different way to frame it. I'm going to draw a number line, and here's 0. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put a bunch of numbers on it. I'm going to start at 2. So I'm going to start at 2. So there we go. There's my starting point. And I'm going to look at plus 3 as moving on the number line in the positive direction. So towards the right, I'm going to move 3 spots. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I have added 3 spots. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, I end up at 5. Woohoo! And I know if you told anyone, yes, what did we do today in college? We learned to add 2 plus 3. But this is fundamentally different. The first time we taught you how to add, when you were learning, whenever you learned it in elementary school, we were not using graphs. So this is a different way to approach it. And although I am hoping that you can just add 2 plus 3 and get 5 in your head, I'm also hoping that you can look at this graph and go, okay, yeah, I can see why that would be represented that way. So again, 2 plus 3 equals 5. So now we're going to go ahead and I'm going to go through a bunch of different possibilities and try not to worry about this one down here, because I know nobody likes adding fractions. So let's just pretend it's not there. What? Look over there. Hey, it's Godzilla. Nothing bad happens when Godzilla's around. There we go. We don't have to worry about that one now. Okay, so number line. Now, what makes this one more exciting? Well, this one's more exciting because I'm adding -2 plus 3. Now, for all these problems, to make them easier to see what's going on, I put my negative numbers in parentheses. It's a stylistic thing. It's not required. You could also write it as just -2 plus 3. But we're going to start at -2. So here I'm going to find 0. Here's 1. So -2 is right there. So this is where I'm starting at -2. And then I need to go 3 in the positive direction or 3 to the right. So let me get some more points over here. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I'm moving 3 to the right. And where do I end up? I end up at the first number to the right of 1. Or sorry, I just gave it away, didn't I? To the right of 0, and I get 1. The answer is 1. -2 plus 3 equals 1. And we can see a couple things that are happening. When I add 3 to -2, what happens? I add 2 to get me to 0, and then 1 more to get me to 1. So I can kind of see better what's going on. And again, I am hoping that you know this without having to graph it. So the graph is actually the harder part. Hopefully you already know this answer. Okay, so then the question is, what does it mean to add a negative number? And here I'm going to suggest that negative numbers are also the opposite. So, and you remember opposite day, like when you were in school, you do everything backwards. Well, this means -3 means that you have to move to the left. So it's the opposite. Okay, so what does the graph look like? Well, the graph looks like this. I'm at 0. There's 1, 2, 3. There's -1, -2, -3, -4. A bunch of numbers there. I'm going to start at +2. That's where I start, right? And then I add a -3. So normally I would move to the right, but because it's a -3, I move to the left. I take the opposite because it's opposite day. 1, 2, 3. And you can see we end up at -1. Or 2 plus a -3 equals -1. Kind of woohoo. A little note, I said that the parentheses here were optional. They are. The parentheses here are not optional. Generally speaking, this is considered, although someone could read this, this is kind of awkward. So I personally would not write it that way. I would not leave it like that. Sometimes, oops, I'm having trouble finding my red pen. There we go. Sometimes it might happen that this is the problem. You end up having to write this out. But I would recommend not writing it like this. I would recommend writing it with the parentheses. It's just easier to see what's going on. Okay, next up, I'm starting at which one? -2, right? And then I'm going to add, so I'm going to move to the right, except, oh, it's opposite day. So I'm going to move to the left 3. Okay, let's do this big old graph. Here I've got 0, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that. Okay, so I'm going to start at -2. There's my -2 starting point. And then I move to the left here too. I'm going to move 3 to the left. There's 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have to move Godzilla. I know. Don't look. Don't look. Ignore that. So if I move 1, 2, 3 to the left, where am I going to end up? There's -2, -3, -4, -5. So in other words, I spent $2 and then I spent another $3. So altogether, -2 plus -3 means I spent $5 altogether. I had $2 and I spent $3. I end up with owing someone $1. I had -$2 and I earned $3. So I paid back my debt and I had $1 left over. I had $2 and I earned 3 more. Yay, it's 5. Okay, there's no covering it up anymore. We can do this. We can handle it. So I'm going to write this much larger because I realize on the screen it may not be showing up. -47 plus 7/10. Ugh. So this is a reminder about fractions. In order to add fractions, we need common denominators. That means the denominators have to match exactly. In this case, they do. So the denominator stays the same. It does not turn to 20. But up top, I get -47 plus 7. Now, here's the problem with the graphing plan. I do not want to graph -47. So we're going to have to figure this out a different way. You could. You totally could. But let's think about what we've been through. We've been through quite a lot. So is there a way to figure this out? I owed $47, or I spent $47, and then I earned 7, so I could pay some back. So if I pay $7 back out of the 47, what's still left? I still owe -40. Kind of, sort of. Now you have to remember, and we're going to be reminding you about the fractions on an ongoing basis, little bits of fractions here and there. So we polish up your fraction skills. I will remind you, you know what? I'm going to write it again so I've got room. I can cancel a 10, that leaves 1, and a 10, that leaves a -4. So I get -4 over 1, which is -4. Wow, that was a long problem. Okay, now something like adding fractions, that's the sort of thing that tends to get forgotten really easily, especially if it's been a long summer. We've all been stressed out. It's been strange. The world is kind of weird right now. I would not blame you if fractions were not the top of your mind right now. So you're looking at this going, oh no, and gnashing your teeth, then what you can do is talk to me, talk to a tutor. We can get you time Zooming with a tutor. You can come to my office hours. We will just practice fractions until you get so good you can amaze your friends. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to a really fancy party and amazed people with my fraction knowledge. It's better. It's better than being a magician, honestly. Okay. Oh no. I had to do another fraction one. Yeah. Because the thing is I want a lot of opportunities to practice in front of you, show you how to approach fractions, to help jog your memory, to help you remember how to do it, all these things. So I think doing more of it in this context, in a lecture context, is better than just throwing it to you on the homework side. So this is negative 47 over 10 plus 7 over 5. Oh no. Oh no, the denominators don't match. You cannot add two fractions if the denominators don't match. So sadly though, the answer is not just that, oh, I guess we won't be able to do this problem. Let's just go home or go to the beach or something. The answer is no, we've got to do something to fix this problem so they have common denominators. So what we're going to need is to find a least common denominator between 10 and 5. And when we find a least common denominator, we want a number they both go into. So a lot of people say, oh, 5 goes into both of them. And yes, you're thinking in the right direction, but you want a bigger number. So they both go into 10. So my LCD, or my LCM, some people use, is 10. So I'm going to have to convert my 7/5 into tenths. And I use a different color because I find it easier. It kind of helps my brain to remember what's happening. So I think if I'm going to convert fifths into tenths, 5 times 2 gives me 10. I have to do exactly the same thing on top. The trick about fractions is you have balance top to bottom. You have to balance the top and the bottom. 7 times 2 is 14. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take negative 47 all over 10 plus 7 over 5, except now we're going to write it as negative 47 over 10 plus 14 over 10. Now, and throwing caution to the wind, I'm going to see if I can highlight this without going to Smeary Town. Not too bad, not too bad. I still took you to Smeary Town, but it's not so bad. Okay, and then since they have common denominators, yay, we can rewrite it all over 10. It's negative 47 plus 14. Okay, so I owed $47 and I made $14. So I'm going to pay back my debts. And so I'm going to have to find the difference between 47 and 14. Now, I'm feeling tired. It's late. By the time I'm able to make these videos when the house is quiet, it's pretty late, and I am just falling asleep. So if you're falling asleep, let me find a spot where, oh, the ring light follows you wherever you go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in this numerator to get some help from my calculator, because there's no shame. Now, granted, don't do everything on your calculator, because then you're not exercising your brain. But every now and again, check your work on your calculator. Guess and then check, do mix it up. You're allowed to use a calculator sometimes. I think calculators are awesome. But we got to figure out how to use it. You can't use this minus that's over here with this. This little minus in front of the 47, you've got to use the minus that means a negative. And in my calculator, it's this one right here. You might have a slightly different one, so you may have to play around with it. If you have trouble finding it on your calculator, ask me, send a picture to me, talk to the tutors, we can help you find it. So I'm going to do the opposite of 47 plus 14. Nice, it's negative 33. Now, the great thing about 33 is it's only divisible by what? 3 and 11. And 10 is only divisible by 5 and 2. Nothing cancels. Yay, we're done. Woohoo! Yay, fractions are done for a little bit. Okay. What are the rules of addition? So you may have studied this before. You may not find it helpful. You might find this very helpful, but I want to go over it just in case it does help. So if we're talking about like sign, that doesn't mean they like each other. It means that they're similar. So this is matching signs. Aw, they're twinsies. So if they're both positive or they're both negative. 2 plus 3. Now let's pull the piece of paper back. Let's see. 2 plus 3, almost like I planned it ahead of time, is 5. Negative 2 plus negative 3 was negative 5. So what's the rule? The rule is you add the absolute values. So I add the 2 and the 3, or I add here absolute value, the 2 and the 3. So I ignore the signs and then attach the sign. I'll say they share. Ugh, I don't like the way I'm phrasing it. You could definitely come up with a better way to say this. Don't memorize this. Come up with it in your own words. This is just off the top of my head. I'm on a very long day. So what the heck does that mean? Well, it means if I ask you to add negative 7 plus negative 8, they're matching, they're twinsies, both minuses, then what I want you to do is take the 7 plus the 8 to get the 15. So ignore the signs. 7 plus 8 is 15. And then, since they both have minuses, take the 15 and change it into a negative 15. Does that make sense? So that's the 2 steps. Now, if you came into the class knowing negative 7 plus negative 8 is negative 15, awesome. If you know that if you spend $7 and you spend $8, altogether you spent $15, excellent. Woohoo. Okay. Next up, different situation. In fact, I want to draw this line here too. Okay. Unlike signs. That means they don't match. One is a minus, one is a plus. One is a plus, one is a minus. Okay. So let's look at what we got. Negative 2 plus 3. Negative 2 plus 3 was 1. 2 plus a negative 3, that's that one, was negative 1. So what's the rule? It's a good question. This is not obvious. So the rules for these are going to be find the difference between the absolute values and then what? Attach the bigger numbers sign. Does that make sense? So what's the difference between 2 and 3? They're 1 apart, right? So I look at that and I go, okay, the answer is 1 now. Is it positive or negative? Who's bigger, 2 or 3? 3 is bigger, so it's got to be positive. What's the difference between 2 and 3? They're 1 apart, so I use 1. But this is negative because 3 was negative in this case. Okay, so my example, what about negative 7 plus 8? Okay, so 7 and 8 are 1 apart, right? So the difference is 1. And then I use a plus because 8 is bigger than 7. Does that make sense? So -7 plus 8 is a +1. Kind of, sort of? Kind of, sort of. Now, again, this is very formal, all this that we're doing. So we're taking all the addition that you've been doing for years and making it sound a lot more complicated. Part of this process that we're going on is we're going to go back through numbers and really figure out why they work the way you learned they worked. So the things that we could not tell you in 4th grade, we're going to tell you now. Woohoo, because you guys are college students. And now you can understand more deeply what's happening. So again, though, if you already know how to add -7 plus 8 and get +1, awesome, awesome. But I still think this is useful, going through it and just kind of getting a handle on the fact that there's something deeper going on here. Okay, in the next video, we're going to continue with this. We're going to come up with some properties that we could use with addition. Woohoo! Yay, math on.